Okay, we're rolling. Welcome, Jesse, to the podcast. Good to have you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, how's your trip up here?
Not too bad. Just
Nice little Uber.
Nice little Uber over.
Jesus Christ! Thank God you didn't have to take the TTC. That shit's it's scaring me, honestly, man. It's scaring me. I don't know what it's gonna be like. I went to Amsterdam recently, and I was impressed by their public transport system. Nobody tried to stab me. No crack pipes. None of that. It was nice and clean.
No, man. Toronto's when it comes to TTC or just public transit, it's kind of a joke, man. I never get too scared about like getting stabbed or anything. I feel like social media makes it seem like it happens all the time, which it might, honestly. But I went to New York for the first time like 2 weeks ago, and everyone was like, "Don't take the subway, don't take the subway." I'm like, how bad can it be? And it was fine. But I feel like Europe and Asia, like I went to Korea, subway system is unreal.
Yeah, I saw this video recently about like all of North America's transit systems, and actually Toronto is rated as the #1 most efficient, which, you know what, they explained it. It's not because we have like the 3 lines. You used to have 4, but that line all the way on the east end closed down. It's the U, the purple line, and the green line cutting across the U, right? And it's the way that if you just map that out, that's very basic compared to like a Chicago or an LA.
For sure.
But what makes our city's transport system much more kind of like that spider web that you're used to seeing is the streetcars, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with streetcars is that they're subject to traffic, right?
Exactly.
Which is bad. And now they're building, it's kind of like an investment. You got to slow stuff down now to make things better like 10, 20 years from now. But they're building like 3 more lines. Bottom line is, I've never had a great time on the subway, but apparently it's going to be good in like, 2035? So, who knows?
I do not plan on being in Toronto by 2035, but I mean,
yeah,
it's just rough. Like you look at the way other cities do it, and like, for example, like I was saying Korea and Seoul, there's like more buses on the road than cars. Like nobody has a car because it's just so efficient. And you can get literally everywhere. Like 4 lines or 3 lines, whatever Toronto has right now, is a joke. Like other cities have like 10, 15, 20 lines that just go to like every inch of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, the streetcar is good, but like you said, traffic. So it doesn't really help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's that's why you want like I read this somewhere recently, like the biggest problem with infrastructure in most cities is we're thinking on like a 2-dimensional plane, right? Like if you shove a bunch of people into a given area, it's going to be very overpopulated. But the reason there are high rises and subways and highways that are kind of bridged is because, like if you put everybody into one room, the only way other than spreading them out to create space is to layer them on top of each other.
Exactly.
So 3-dimensional building is the way to go. So if everything's, the only way you're going to spread people out in a given territory is expand the territory unless you're building up or building down.
For sure.
But yeah, anyways, now that the segment on infrastructure and city travel is done, what's up, man? I love your skits. I've seen your stuff. Before I even got into social media, I remember you have like various characters. I think I remember I checked your Instagram recently. I don't know if you've done him recently. There was like a dude, like a Toronto man's you did, right?
Yeah.
Like a Blue Jays cap or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I remember initially seeing. How long have you been doing like social media and comedy for?
So I started doing social media basically like literally like the week before COVID happened.
Oh shit,
like
nice.
I think literally the first video I posted on TikTok was the 1st of March 2020, which is like a week or 2 before COVID. And I was just making little random videos, no characters, anything like that. And then like pretty early on into COVID, I created the Toronto man character, like known as DK.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I like popped off, was on social medias with that character. But I've retired the character. Yeah, I haven't done it in like probably about a year. And people always ask me why, or is he ever going to come back? Like, honestly, it might not be the best reason for a lot of people, but it's a good enough reason for me. I just got tired of the character.
Yeah.
I was just bored with him. I felt like I had done everything I wanted to do with that character, and I was just kind of over it. I felt like I was repeating myself in all those videos, and it was a tough decision to make because by the end of like me working on that character, I kind of felt like I had broken down the algorithm. Like I had figured out what I needed to do with that character to get views, but by the end of it, I just wasn't enjoying making the video. So I'm like, even if I'm getting the views, like if I'm not having fun, then what's the point?
Yeah. It's I'm watching a lot of stuff about like Friends because Matthew Perry died recently. I'm a big fan of Friends, and I'm seeing like a lot of these like little documentaries about like the production and how like they stopped after 9 seasons because the actors essentially got tired. They could have it was the most they quit while they were on top. They could have juiced it for another 10 seasons. That's not the way to go when everybody's tired. And I have it similar situations in comedy and whatnot. Like I think making stuff for an audience, despite it might bring you success, is not the way to do it. You got to make stuff for yourself. That's where the real juicy stuff comes out, the stuff that brings you joy and the stuff that translates on screen or whatever medium you're doing. And then the audience will enjoy that. So I think you made the right decision. That's good. That's good.
For sure. And I think take like my favorite show of all time is The Office, and I feel like it's the same thing. Steve Carell wanted to leave, and I feel like at some point, if you continue to make the content that you know is going to do well, at some point the audience is going to pick up on it. The audience is going to see that you're not in it anymore, and then it's just not going to be as good.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you know the backstory behind The Office, the American Office, right, with Steve Carell.
Yeah.
You know who created the show initially?
Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais, correct. Yeah, like the British show. And I actually also watched a little snippet on YouTube about his whole career path. He only became famous when he was like an overnight sensation at the age of 35. Before that, he had like an unsuccessful like rock band.
Really?
He was a manager for a bit, and then he worked like a desk job.
Wow.
So he had a lot of life experience, and I think from the documentary's perspective, the reason he succeeded in pitching that show was because he wasn't like the standard comedian. We're all like trying to get clout, trying to get fame, trying to be funny, trying to get people to notice us. He didn't care. He had a stable job. He's been turned down his whole life. He'd given up on being famous. He just had this idea, and he pitched it to a bunch of people, and they said no, or change this or change that, or maybe you don't act in it. And he just kept saying no until the right people came along, which happened to be like channel. It was something like, it wasn't HBO, it was BBC or something. Yeah, it was BBC. And then it just worked out, right? Yeah. So he never wanted to pander to an audience. He's like, this is my thing, and I'm going to stick to it the way I want to do it. And it became one of the most successful ideas in TV history. So
yeah, I think it's one of those things where like you can't, like I'll occasionally have people who will reach out to me, or like friends, sometimes family, or just random people who are like, man, I want to become an influencer. And I'm like, it's just, to me, it's not something that just you can maybe you can manifest it, but I don't think it's something that you can just create. Like, I'm going to be an influencer and you just become one. I feel like the vast majority of people, me for example, it just happened out of pure luck, like randomness. Like COVID happened, I was bored, I started posting videos, and now a little over 3 years later, and this is my full-time job. But I think like forcing it doesn't really work, and it goes to like what you said with Ricky Gervais. Like, he wasn't trying to make The Office some worldwide phenomenon. It happened because he just let it occur naturally.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you. So how did you get into comedy, influencing, creating skits, just like whatever it is you want to call what you're doing? And you do it full time, correct?
I do. Okay, I do it full time. Yeah.
So a little bit about your background too. What did you do? You said you did undergrad
at Ryerson, or TMU now. TMU. But so I started. I mean, I've always been into comedy. Like, I remember, like, I think my earliest memories are back when, like, we had back when computers were, like, very fresh. Like, most people didn't have computers in the houses, and getting, like, email chains, like, from other people just sending clips. And I remember seeing clips of Russell Peters. And, like, that was probably my first taste of stand-up comedy. And I just thought he was hilarious. I was addicted to Russell Peters' stand-up. And so I've always had, I guess, an appreciation for comedy. And then university started, and I studied sport media at Ryerson. And I always enjoyed being in front of the camera. In elementary school and high school, I would do talent shows, and I would do like stand-up, or I would like host a talent show, or different things like that. So I love being in front of the camera. I was never one to really get too nervous. So I went to school because I wanted to be in front of the camera. The dream was to be like an NBA play-by-play commentator. Nice. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to call basketball games. And I did that at Ryerson for the men's and women's basketball teams. And Ryerson at the time had great both men and women basketball teams. So we were calling really big games, and I was absolutely loving it. and then COVID happened in the middle of my third year, and everything just stopped. Like, couldn't call any more games.
Yeah.
And yeah, so everything stopped. I had friends who were telling me, you should download TikTok, you should try TikTok. And I was like, man, I'm not. This is like, there's just a bunch of 13-year-old kids dancing. Like, I'm not trying TikTok, but I ended up downloading it. Just started like watching content for a bit and then decided to start making content. And then, yeah, it slowly evolved from like, it started with me doing, remember early COVID days, CP24, like every day, Doug Ford would come out. And they would have an interpreter in the bottom right for sign language of like what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I would watch it and think that it was like hilarious, like what they were or what it looked like they were signing, because I don't know American Sign Language. So I started making videos of what it looked like a Toronto man would be saying with those hand signals. That blew up, and from there came the full character of DK, the Toronto man. And then somewhere down the road, I created Uncle Yusuf, which is kind of my bread and butter now, the character that a lot of my followers love. And yeah, over the last 3 years, it's just transitioned into like, I've gained more and more followers, just more and more love and engagement. And now it is my full-time job.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's exactly what you're saying, right? Like a lot of people think that it takes like a lot to get into this, to be an influencer, but everybody has a phone nowadays, most people. And then if, like, that's kind of the beauty of the internet. There's a lot of negative and positive aspects, but one of the best aspects is like in comedy, for example, right? I do this full time as well. And the only reason that I can do it is because I have a phone, and you can slap it down on the table, and if you're funny, people will notice, period, right? Yeah. There's no more gatekeeping. There's none of that. It's directly, creator to audience. It's that direct connection. There's no producers, casting directors, nobody telling you what you can or what you can't do. You have full creative control. That's a lot for a lot of people, but it also lets, the public decide what they want to consume, which is which is great. So I was going to ask you how long you've been doing it. So I guess you only started before COVID, right?
Yeah, so like March 2020. So it's been, I guess, 3.5 years now.
Nice. And then I do like the Uncle Yusuf character. Where did that come from?
It's tough because he didn't come from one person. Like, I would say the biggest influence is my mom. So not my dad, not my uncle. I do have an Uncle Yusuf, but literally all I've taken from him is his name. Okay. Aside from that, he is nothing like Uncle Yusuf. He is like, he came here like 40 years ago. He lives in Oakville. Like, he is like a Canadian uncle. So he's not like the real Uncle Yusuf. Right. The real Uncle Yusuf is not like my Uncle Yusuf. But a lot of it's from my mom, just things that she says around the house, just growing up with her. And then the rest is just influences from going to see family friends, from going to church, from just being surrounded by Arabs and Middle Eastern people, just taking a little bit from just the stereotypes, really taking a little bit from all these different people and putting it into one character.
Yeah, and I feel like watching those videos, even I can relate to them. I grew up in a Eastern European household, but it's a very similar kind of like, Canada's a melting pot of all sorts of cultures, but I see that I have my own character that I only done a few skits with, but it's like the Russian mom, like with the superstitions, 100%. Knock on wood, but like, all that kind of stuff, like do this or we won't have any money, that kind of stuff. And there is a lot of similarities there. And I also I went to high school in a French Catholic high school. So my entire friend group in high school was Lebanese. So I kind of integrated into that culture a little bit through my high school years. So even through that,
but that's
I connect
the thing,
to it.
Like with the character, it's crazy because you would assume that my biggest audience is Middle Eastern people, and it is. But the amount of DMs I get from people who are like, I'm Romanian and I relate to this so much. I'm Russian and I relate to this so much. I'm Ethiopian and I relate to this so much. Like literally every continent, everywhere around the world, there's people who are just like, I can relate to it so much. And I think it's because, sure, I take a Middle Eastern take on it, but it's really just like immigrant parents. It's not even like Arab parents. That's just that's just the flavor that I choose. But it's really just how immigrant parents usually are.
Exactly. No, that's a big difference. And we're like, we have a few skits planned for after this, and that's exactly what we're gonna play on, right? Because like especially in Toronto, but like you went to New York recently, right? Similar thing, like just a melting pot of cultures, different kinds of cultures, but like the modern world has just kind of blended all of these people together in these kind of hubs called cities, right?
Yeah.
And you see all of this interacting. Like, it's kind of like, you know, it's really easy to kind of hate on it and get on in your own bubble, but like also like, come on, you live in Toronto, you can go outside, you can have like the best dish from any country you choose. Like literally, like take a dart, throw it on a world map. You're like, okay, I want that kind of cuisine. You'll find amazing food from there, and like all of these different factors that combine. And also, like it's hilarious. Like I don't think there's a point in the world, and this is another kind of positive aspect of the internet, that people have been as well-rounded and understanding of like the geopolitical and historical everything, right? So you kind of understand how things are, why they became the way you have a more well-rounded perspective of the world.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of like, and so I wanted to ask you, right? So like you're an influencer, right? You have more followers than me, but even like with my kind of level of social media, I get like positive comments, negative comments. So there's positive aspects because it's helping my career, and there's negative aspects. What do you think overall about social media and its effects on our society? Like, is it you can take it either way, but what do you think? What's your take on it? That's it. I'll leave it open to you. I know it's a heavy question.
Yeah, it's, to put it simply, it's a lot of good and a lot of bad. And I think it's hard to not get one without the other. We'll just start with like my social media platform to begin with. I would say 99%, maybe 95% of the comments are positive. Are people showing me so much love, so much support, DMs of people saying, man, I was having a really shitty day, but you made my day. You helped me get through like this or that. That's 95%. And then there's the 5% that's negativity. And it's not even people that want to have a debate or a discussion. It's just people who want to shit on you, who they're probably having a bad day themselves, and they just are looking for someone to take it out on. But it feels a lot of the time that 5% is so much louder than the 95%. And I think it's very easy to get pulled into this black hole of like, okay, now you're looking for the negative comments and you're just skipping over the positive ones. And even comments aside, even like being an influencer and being a creator yourself, just being a consumer of seeing so much negativity, it messes with your mental health 1000%. I don't care what anybody says. Social media is an addiction, and it's such a beautiful thing. It can be such a beautiful thing, but it really comes down to how you use it. And it's difficult for me as an influencer because I have a built-in excuse of why I'm on my phone so much, of why I'm on social media. Oh, I'm working. I'm reading comments. I'm trying to be true. I'm trying to, grow my following. I'm trying to get back to everyone. I'm trying to reply to as many people as possible. But it's just bullshit. I'm gonna cut that out of the podcast because my girlfriend is gonna clip that and put it on my fucking as my background. Yeah, my girlfriend's the exact same, and like I understand where she's coming from because I spend too much time on my phone, and that's why I've begun over the last couple of years putting in like just breaks that I take from social media. So for example, we're coming up on the end of the year. This will be my 3rd year in a row now. Basically the last 2 weeks of the year, I go ghost. Not just as a creator, as a consumer. I delete TikTok, I delete Instagram, I delete Twitter or X or whatever it's called, Snapchat, everything. I delete everything except for basically iMessage, so that people that want to get in touch with me can get in touch with me. And it feels so good to take a break and to remind yourself that like you don't need to be online, and like the sky is not going to fall. The world is not going to end if you don't know everything that's going on in the world at any given moment. That's true. Because at the end of the day, it's not real life. People forget that a lot. Like you just drive by. Like I have my whole life. I'm born and raised in Toronto, so like living in a big city. My family has like a little place up north, and it's always nice when I go there because like the air seems fresher. There's kids riding around on their bikes, and you kind of nowadays, especially, I go up there and I'm like, oh yeah, like that's real life, the real interactions, the real people that are around you. This social media stuff isn't like, just like you, I get positive comments and very negative comments, threats in your DMs, which I usually find funny, but that's my coping mechanism, right? That I'm a comedian because at the end of the day, that's how I deal with the world. I try to make jokes, and I've through my entire life, that's been the deal, right? And I've managed to turn it into something good, but it's a mechanism to shield yourself from like a harsher reality. 100%. And it's like you said, the thing you have to remind yourself, and it's very hard to, especially when you're consumed by social media is that it's not real. Like I've had to remind myself a few times, and especially the last few months, there's so much that's been going on in the world, and so many people that that have been suffering, and people that are just upset and looking for someone to get upset with. And I've had to remind myself a lot of the time that, like, sure, I'm gonna get negative comments, but every single time that someone has recognized me in the real world, someone who's come up to me, because they've seen my content, and it's probably happened over the last couple of years, let's say maybe 200 times I've been recognized. Not once has it been someone that has recognized me and said something negative. Not once has someone come to me in real life and said, hey, I saw your content, I don't like your content. Every single time has been someone who has come to me and said, hey man, like, you're that guy from TikTok, I love what you do, I love your content, can we get a picture, like, or just want to have a conversation. Every single time it's real life, it's positive. So it's like, you really have to take a step back and remind yourself that a lot of these times, these negative comments, they're trolls. They're people that are just upset. They're people that don't know a single thing about you. That's a huge thing. Like, you have to remind them. You have to remind yourself they don't know shit about you. They don't know a single thing.
Yeah.
So it's very important to remind yourself that is not the real world.
Yeah, and Louis C.K. has one of my favorite bits by him is that he's the worst person in the world when he's driving a car.
Yeah.
Right? Because he has that piece of metal and glass, for some reason, isolating him from the real world, makes him like the biggest asshole, and it's bad because he's driving a fucking deadly piece of machinery.
Yeah.
There will be like somebody just drifting slightly in front of him, and he'll be like, you fucking cunt, you know? And it's I take that, when I heard that joke right away, my brain said like social media, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing. It's that anonymity. And you know what? These are also people, right? And it's kind of like everybody kind of has their own experience with bullying. I was bullied as a kid, not as much because I've been like training my whole life. I was like a nerdy little kid, but I've been training martial arts my whole life.
Okay, nice.
And so my few experiences with bullying, I kind of nipped them in the bud pretty quick. But I always, for some reason, had empathy. Even as a kid, when I didn't understand the kind of inner working, like the psychological aspect of it, I had empathy for bullies because I think when you start training, right, even now as an adult, you go to an MMA gym, for example, it's the most respectful, kind environment because everybody there is trained, and some of these people are like actual killers. They can actually handle business.
Yeah.
And their ego is never there. Like when you're sparring and stuff, it's always the dudes that have a little chip on their shoulders that are like novice, that try to something to prove.
Yeah.
And those are the people we don't handle that. We just don't let them spar or anything because that's a danger to everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I feel like I'm a big MMA guy as a viewer. I don't like I've done a couple jiu-jitsu. Huge UFC guy. Huge UFC guy.
Big card coming up.
Big
Colby
card.
Covington.
I was actually supposed to go to Vegas.
Where is it? Vegas?
Vegas, yeah.
True.
I was supposed to go, but it didn't end up panning out. But I mean, not to go off topic, but I'm a huge Colby Covington fan in the octagon. Love the way he fights. It's such a great card, top to bottom. It's so deep. I can't wait for that card.
Yeah, and the UFC in Toronto is coming up, but
terrible card.
Not a great card.
Some like
main event.
key.
I love Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
He is a comedian, bro. When he won the belt, he was doing his press conference, and he's like, "Do I get to keep this belt?" They're like, "No, you'll get a replica." He's like, "How much is the replica? $300." Like, if that doesn't make you feel like a cheap whore, I don't know what does. He just drops the mic and leaves. I'm like, bro, this guy's a comedian. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love him as a character, and I love the fact that like he's the true underdog story. He came up, he beat Israel Adesanya of all people, which I respect the guy, but man, he was getting annoying a little bit. And this is like fucking Gossip Girl shit for me. This is fun. That's what they're trying to do, right? They're doing UFC does a great job of that. But the Toronto card, the prices, man, the fucking prices, the cheapest tickets I think are just under $500, which is ridiculous. And that kind of, there's a thing with all Toronto sports like Leafs, Raptors, Blue Jays. Blue Jays are a little better because it's such a big stadium.
Yeah.
But it's all suits, man.
Yeah.
It's all suits. It's all corporate boxes, corporate suits. Nobody that's actual. There's like, you go to a game and if you're like, I remember being a kid. So my parents are also immigrants, right? They came here from the Soviet Union before it was dismantled. They didn't have a lot of money, but my dad was able to, he was a fan of hockey. He was able to take me as a little kid, get us decent tickets. And I have those memories as a kid. Now, man, if I'm a dad coming with not a lot, like, working class, I don't have like, I'm not dropping, half my paycheck on a some Leafs tickets. It's
Yeah.
kind of sad in that direction, but
It's that's the way it goes. I used to for like a few years I worked at Scotiabank Arena. For those listening, that's where the Raptors and the Leafs play.
yeah.
But so I used to work Raptors games and Leafs games, and it's crazy how different the crowd is for a Raptors game and a Leafs game. Like a Leafs game is like 90% white people.
Yeah.
And it's way more suits than Raptors. Like
Yeah.
it's like all suits. It's all people who got their tickets from work, who are going to the game, and the game is like a business meeting. Like they're having like it's just like it sucks. It really sucks. And then you see these kids where so basically what I did in the arena was I worked for PlayStation.
Nice.
And we'd have a few PS4 set up and we just play Chell, 2K,
Sick.
whatever. And like people would bring their kids to like a Leafs game, and the kid during the game would come and want to play Chell against me. And I'm thinking, like, man, if this was my kid and I had paid hundreds of dollars for them to watch this game and they're more focused on playing the video
Playing
game,
NHL, that's hilarious.
so like I would just try to finish the game as quickly as possible so they could go back to their seats. But it's absolutely nuts, man. And yeah, these ticket prices, like I feel like the UFC knows what ticket prices can go for in Toronto, and they're like, we don't even need to put together a good card. Because
that's the thing too, right? The card's not great. They know they're going to sell out because of the market. And I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much, but there's something to unpack there. There's something
for sure.
And yeah, with the Raptors, they've been doing it because the Raptors are the thing about hockey in Canada is no matter what, it's going to be our thing, a Canadian thing. So no matter how bad the Leafs are doing, they're going to sell out that stadium. Basketball, they had to try a little harder, and the Raptors have been doing a great job. They won the championship, which is insane for a Toronto team, right? And that's not a Toronto thing, that's a Canada thing. The Raptors are Canada's team. The Blue Jays are Canada's team. The Leafs are Toronto's team, right? There's a different demographic going to them. But, man, like they've been doing, like the NHL... I think the NHL as an organization, I have like my own reasons to say this, but is like one of the worst organizations there is. It's an amazing sport, horrible organization.
It's boring.
Yeah.
It's boring. There's no like the NBA does such a better job at marketing their players. Like there's guys who like you don't need to know you don't need to know basketball. You know who LeBron James is. You know who Steph Curry is. You know who Kevin Durant is. You know who a lot of these guys are. Whereas in the NHL, honestly, like I feel like I could go to a lot of people and say, do you know who Connor McDavid is? And they'd probably say no. Obviously, I'd say maybe most Canadians, but like you go around the world, who the hell is Connor McDavid? Who the hell is Austin Matthews? And you're talking about like Connor McDavid, they're saying this might be one of the greatest players of all time. And at the same time, you look at how much money he's making. He's making as much as like a role player on an NBA team.
Oh,
and he's
absolutely.
the best player in hockey. The best player in the world.
Yeah. And it's also like notoriety. That plays a big factor in it, right? Like marketing is everything. And like look at, Austin Matthews is good friends with Justin Bieber, and there's so many headlines when he's like chilling with him, and it's like, oh, it's Justin Bieber and his chauffeur, who is Austin Matthews, one of the best hockey players in the world. It's hilarious. And like Connor Bedard, they're trying to fix that. They're they realize how important social media is and all that kind of stuff, because they were really like, for some reason, and not for some reason, because of the NHL's kind of rules and guidelines and contracts, I feel like hockey players were a little bit more like timid to like show their personality. I'm a hockey guy. I grew up here. I played hockey, house league, and now shinny with my friends. I know like the banter is fun. Like in the locker room, you chirp at each other. It's hilarious. Dude, there's so many guys, like social media guys, that are just like that's their character, like the Canadian hockey guy, right? Like, hey, bud, I got a few apples and a hattie. Like, what are you doing? Fucking like that guy's a pigeon, whatever. Like, just that kind of shit. And like now, especially with Barstool, we see like Spittin' Chicklets, right? Yeah. We see like guys coming up, and that's been great for hockey, but it has nothing to do with the NHL. In fact, the NHL has, I think, proactively tried to shut that down. Shoot themselves in the foot like a bunch of idiots. It's again because it's a bunch of white guys in suits running the thing, right? They don't
in their 70s.
They don't get it. Yeah. And like as much as these kind of conversations or that is helping them, at the end of the day, they got to they got to move on. Like, that's the thing. It's like with politics and everything. These guys want to hold on to power until they're in the grave, just like retire, right?
I think
you
it's
got to let
I think
the
it's
new guys shine.
I think it's gonna be a tough solution though, because I feel like it's so deeply rooted in hockey culture. Like,
Yeah.
like
Baseball, baseball is similar though, no?
yeah, the MLB is making a lot of moves specifically when it comes to social media, but like when it comes to hockey, I feel like these kids, grow up watching their favorite players give these boring ass interviews. We had a good game. We got some pucks in deep. So and so, and even like what the players wear. Like everyone's wearing suits. Even when they got rid of the dress code for some teams, nobody was like really showing their personality. Whereas you look at the NBA, it's like, what the hell is Russell Westbrook wearing? What the hell is James Harden wearing? Like, sure, people are laughing at it and making jokes, but that's engagement. That's getting people to watch. It's getting people to talk about it. And with the MLB, I feel like in the last few years, they've done a much better job at, posting clips and like allowing people to share all these clips. Because I'm pretty sure a few years ago, they were like, they didn't want people sharing their clips because it belonged to the MLB. It was their property.
Yeah.
But it's like, don't you understand? That's how you get people to watch. Like, I'm a huge NBA fan. I can't tell you the last full NBA like regular season game I've watched because I don't really sit down often and watch unless it's playoffs. But I'm watching the clips on Twitter. I'm seeing everything that's going on and keeping track of everything. And I feel like the NHL has a long way to go.
Yeah, like one of my favorite podcasts and YouTubers is Steve Dangle. He has like the hockey podcast, and he's still like his LFR videos where he recaps every single video. He's one of the best things to have happened to the NHL and the Leafs in a while. He's like single-handedly boosted their marketing by I don't know how much, but he can't use clips. They can't even like make an exception for him. Like this guy's literally single-handedly generating so much revenue for them. I don't even watch their social media as much as I watch his. I go to him for the analysis, and he can't use their clips. But with baseball, I feel like it might be it's such a big sport to start with. Hockey doesn't have that advantage, right?
Yeah.
Baseball is America's pastime, and by virtue of that, it's like it's big in South America, it's big in even Canada, it's big all over the place, right? Because of the powerhouse that it is, like just the numbers it brings in. Hockey doesn't have that yet. They're trying to break into the American market. They're doing okay, not there yet. Obviously Canada's there. They're trying to do this international series. They just went to Sweden. It was cool, stuff like that. So they're trying, but it's just like, man, like they're not dumb. Okay, they know what they have to do. They just it's bureaucracy. It's I don't know. So you probably know more, but you were like you got your undergrad in sports media, right? So like,
I think the big thing to focus on baseball. They're moving in the right direction, but I feel like the biggest flaw with baseball, it sucks to say, is the game itself. A lot of the times, it's boring. I think, they fixed the pitch clock, or not fixed, they shortened the pitch clock to make the games go by faster. I think that's a great first step.
Yeah.
But I think the other steps they need to take are going to be incredibly difficult steps because true baseball fans aren't going to want that. Like, I think if you want people to watch, make it a seven inning game.
Yeah.
I think you would cut like probably almost an hour off the game, and I think a lot of people would like it. But true fans will be like, well, no, because now if you do stats, like, well, obviously this guy isn't going to get as many home runs as this guy from 20 years ago because that guy had all these extra innings that he played on top of these guys. But I feel like if you want the sport to succeed now, it's an old man sport. Like, the other thing I think they need to do is, and I think they've started to do, is you have to market it as like not necessarily the most entertaining game, but market it as, they say it's America's favorite pastime. Like, for example, the Rogers Center, they've added all these bars in the Rogers Center. They've taken away all these seats and made it more of like a reason to come together and hang out, not necessarily to watch the baseball game. Like now you can go and get general admission tickets for $20.
That's
true.
And
I'm like, well now if tickets are $20 and you can get drinks there, like it's not a bad place to before going out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a game tonight. Let's just go watch the game. It's not so much of a, oh my God, who are the Jays playing tonight? It's just like, let's just go to the game.
I love me a reason to spend $20 on beers. I don't know about you, but that's give me a reason to go and get blasted on $14 beers. No problem.
But it's beers with a view.
It's beers with a view. Exactly. Tickets are cheaper than the beers. That is a fact. But they have this like loony like dollar hot dog thing going on. That's amazing. Put a hot dog in my hand and I will sit there, watch whatever you want for a while at least. So that's the way it is. No, and also the Rogers Center is Roger Center. I always get messed up. I always Skydome. It's still a thing in my head.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a thing for a while.
Skydome is Rogers Center.
Skydome is Rogers Center.
Scotiabank is Air Canada
Center. Yeah. That ages you a little bit. It's crazy. We're not even that old, man. There's kids these days that don't know what those things are.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
I mean, it took me a long time to stop saying the ACC and say Scotiabank.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But I personally, like, how old are you?
24.
24. Okay, well, I'm 25. I don't even remember really saying Skydome that much. I always remember saying Rogers Center. But then again, I wasn't a big baseball guy growing up.
That's true. I said Air Canada Center until they lost my luggage this summer. So that's done. Scotiabank Arena from now on. Fuck you, Air Canada.
Hey, well, I got to deal with Air Canada. I can't be.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, look, I'm not asking you to give an opinion here. I'm just giving mine. That's true. Oh yeah. So so you have so you're doing social media full time, which is cool. And then like, I guess I know a little bit about the behind the scenes, but I guess what does your day to day look like? What do you do? Are you like, how much are you writing? How much are you working with brands? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's your life like?
Honestly, I should work harder than I do.
Yeah.
It's, I'd say most days I wake up around 8:30. I go to the gym, come back, whether or not my girlfriend is home or not, from work. We will have lunch together, and then it's usually like Mondays is usually a lot of meetings. Tuesdays is usually like coming up with ideas, writing scripts. Wednesdays is usually the day where I film a bunch of my videos, 3, 4, 5 videos. And then Thursday and Friday is just kind of whatever happens. If I have any sponsorships, I'll make videos those days. But yeah, like it's usually, I do have quite a bit of free time on my hands. It really just comes down to how focused I am when it is time to actually get down to work. But yeah, I only really post maybe like when I'm really going, like maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week. And sometimes one of those is an ad that I filmed beforehand. Yeah, that's usually what my day-to-day looks like. Every brand's different. Some brands want to be a lot more hands-on than others. Some are just like, this is what we want. Send us the video when you're done. And some are like, we need to know exactly what you're going to say, exactly how it's going to look, what you're going to be wearing, what you're going to be doing. So every brand's a little bit different. Yeah,
I feel you. And I like what you said about posting 3, 4, 5 times a week, because it's the same. That goes back to, like, there's a lot of people, on YouTube or whatever, like, how to get famous on YouTube. It's like post every day, like all the time, fucking doesn't matter. And even some content creators that I know that are very successful, they maintain that that's the way to go. I have found that, like, much for the same reason that we discussed earlier about, like, when you have an idea that you feel you enjoy yourself, that's like what I'm proud to post. Sometimes I have skits that I'll write. Like I do this, I have the same thing. Like I have two sides of my brain, for stand-up and for skits, right? Like bits and skits. And a lot of the times a premise will work for both. But when I have a video that I'm not super proud of and I just want to post, it feels a little weird. You know what I mean? And that's why actually with the brand deals, I'm doing the same thing. Like my email is flooded, and I've had a few management companies at this point approach me, and are you managed?
I am, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's a little bit different because you're, I guess, like you're all in on the influencer thing. I maintain that like comedy is my number one thing. The influencer kind of world, it's necessary these days, right? Like you're not going to go on. It's no longer a world where you tour for 30 years, get Jimmy Fallon, and then you're selling out theaters, right?
No, you can do it all by yourself.
No, yeah, it's necessary. Like the podcast, the skits, and that's what I see this side of my comedy career being. But at the end of the day, like I'm a comedian.
For sure.
And when people notice me on the streets, I've been noticed once for my comedy. Once. Dozens of times. I haven't been in it for as long, but like especially this year it's ramping up. Like at the gym, whatever, they're like, oh, you're that guy from Instagram or TikTok. And I'm like, yes, but a little bit in my heart I'm like, I want that to be like, oh, you're that comedian, you know what I mean? I want it to be that.
No, I 100% get where you're coming from, because for the longest time, even until now, I still get recognized as, oh, you're the Toronto guy. And I'm like, oh, man, I haven't made a Toronto video in over a year, but I know it's specifically on TikTok. That is where a lot of my followers came from.
Yeah.
And that's something that's very unique with me, is like my TikTok and Instagram, not the content I put up, but my followings are so different, because TikTok is where I blew up from the Toronto character.
Yes.
And Instagram is where I blew up with Uncle Yusuf.
Okay, interesting.
So it's like TikTok kind of wants the Toronto man
yeah,
so
yeah,
much. Instagram doesn't even really know he existed that much.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you the amount of comedians I've seen blow up just from posting their clips online.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
amount of comedians I've purchased tickets to go see without ever seeing
Yeah.
a special from them, just seeing a few funny clips and seeing that they were in town and saying, why not? Like, let me go buy some tickets. And I've
Yeah.
always had a good time. So it's like, especially for comedians, like, if, you know, if you can figure out the algorithm, figure out the type of, you know, clips that you need to post and put out, like, it can make your career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am 100% on that boat, and it's the reason, like, you know, I haven't been doing it as long, and I've been doing comedy for a while, but I haven't, you know, been in the social media game as long, and
It's never too late.
Yeah, it's the only reason. It's the only reason that I can do what I do full time. Like, I'm not making any money from stand-up comedy. I'm not making any money from acting. I'm making all my money from socials, the exact same way you are. And even like the few I've had a few specifically influencer management companies like approach me, and so far. And it's been recent, like in the past month, I've like had meetings with two, and so far I've just been saying no, because like it's great. They're like, we can bring you contracts with these companies and that kind of stuff. But then I read through all of that, and like I said, at the end of the day, this is great. It would help me money wise, but like I'm a comedian, and the reason like all the opportunities in comedy that I've had so far have been because I'm kind of, you know, small business, flexible, right? Like Christina offered me to open for her, you know. I said yes right away. I didn't have to say, hold on, I have to talk to my people. You know what I mean? None of that stuff. So, and I always kind of try to pitch them on the fact, like, I'm a comedian. You guys just manage my social media relations and stuff. And usually it's, you know, it's not, they say yes, they call me an independent contractor or whatever. But at the end of the day, there's too many things. I read through the contracts and I'm like, man, like, just do it yourself. Like, you've come this far, just do it yourself.
Really, that's interesting. Because I would have imagined that some companies would be fully okay with like just being your social media person and not needing a hand in your stand up. Like, at least with me, mine is like purely my social media platforms.
Yeah.
Like obviously they have a hand in my TikTok and my Instagram. I've slowly started to get into YouTube. But for example, I have like a partnership with Bet Rivers, which is a casino, online casino, and I make content for them on their page alone.
Yeah.
And my agency has nothing to do with that, because it's me, but it's not my content, it's not my platform, it's not my anything. This is purely for Bet Rivers, and they don't have a hand in that. So I'm surprised no one.
So I think this most recent one is more like that, and they were okay with stuff like that. But I kind of dug into that exact situation where, like, if I have a deal with another company, for example, that has, because I've done that, I've created content for brands' pages, like Fido. I made a skit for them. It was never on my thing. Like a few companies I've done that for, and even that, from what the contract sounded like and from what the conversation went like, because they're managing your kind of, you can't do any like side things.
For sure.
You have to be transparent.
Yeah. I think with something like Fido, like, because it's still like you're doing like an ad.
Yeah.
For me with the Bet Rivers, I'm not like promoting anything. I'm literally like, I stream on their page.
Yeah.
So it's not really like necessarily a promotion or an advertisement. It's more just I am a personality on their page, kind of.
Yeah, so we'll see. I personally, right now, my goal is to just keep doing what I'm doing. And I think I like to go with my gut. Like we talked about, like the reason, so I have a degree myself. I have a master's degree, and I could be doing a regular job. But the reason that I don't is because I have a problem with authority. As soon as I feel like somebody has a little bit of a hold on me, which at the end of the day, if you want to make it in entertainment, you're going to have to, like, you know, gonna have some kind of management.
Sell your soul to the devil.
Yeah. But for now, like, I'm happy being a free agent. Like, I'm happy to, they say like they'll handle all the contracts and stuff themselves.
Yeah.
I'm happy reading them over. I'm not a dumb guy. I can I have a lot of free time too now. I can read a contract, man. It's all good.
See, that's that's kind of the big reason I agreed to sign with an agency. One, I found an agency that truly has given me so much freedom, and like, I was worried about that too, like feeling like they were in charge of me. for me, and I know there's a lot of agencies that are not like this, and it does suck. For me, the agency that I'm with, it is not like, it is truly a partnership.
Yeah,
like they will be like, hey, so and so wants to work with you. How do you feel about it? If you're not interested, no worries. Like, and even though their pay is dependent on me signing a deal with a company, they don't pressure me to, like, if I don't feel that this is the right fit, no problem, on to the next one.
Yeah.
But the big reason I signed was, I didn't like reading contracts.
Yeah.
I hate negotiating. I hate talking money. Not for me. And then the biggest thing was, honestly, I felt that they would be able to get my foot in the door with companies that I would never have been able to reach out to myself. Like big companies that I know they already have contacts with. But I understand where you're coming from, because for me, the priority is influencer. I hate using that word, but like,
no, I feel
so is my social media platform. Whereas
you have to say
it's
it properly.
you
have to say influencer.
Influencer. I hate it, because I'm like, I don't really think I'm influencing anyone.
Yeah,
but I
guess. No, I feel it, and that was the one reason that I actually contemplated accepting any one of these deals, is because I know they have kind of like relationships with bigger companies, and it's just dollar signs, bro. Like it's fine. I'm like, I have a few side gigs going on. It's okay, but
you have to at this point. Everyone needs more than one source of income, especially living in Toronto, man. Good luck.
Yeah, my master's degree is in synthetic organic chemistry, so I can cook some good stuff. I'm joking for everybody out there.
That's the side
hustle. Yeah. My lab's like right behind the camera. You can't actually see it. It's there. I make silly bands, the polymer you need for the rubber. No, but I do shit like I teach snowboarding during the winter, and that's honestly because it's fun. I've been doing it since I was like 15 years old, or even younger. I think 13, 14.
I've always wanted to try it. I'm not a winter sports kind of guy. I'm a hibernation. When it starts snowing,
kind of guy. Yeah,
when it starts snowing, I'm on Call of Duty until April.
Yeah, that's fair. I am a summer guy. I'm going to Texas soon.
Nice.
To check that out. I know you are too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did some traveling this summer. You went to Europe.
Yeah. So
where'd you go?
In April, I went to Korea.
Nice.
April or May.
That's sick, man. I've never been to Asia. I want to go to Asia so bad.
Man, it's a trip. Like it's a whole new world. Like
a whole new world, bro.
So we were supposed to originally go to Japan.
Yeah.
Me and my buddies, and we were supposed to go in 2020.
Oh, sick.
COVID happened.
That's a great time to travel.
Pushed to 2021. In 2021, still COVID.
Yeah.
2022, things are opening up, but Japan is still locked down.
Yeah.
So we pushed to 2023. And then one of the guys who we were supposed to go with this year ended up not being able to come. And we didn't want to go to Japan without him, because he's one of the OGs. We're like, no, we got to do this together.
Yeah.
So we pivoted. We went to Korea.
Okay.
It is so different. Like, obviously, everyone there is Korean.
That's good. I'm glad you were able to tell that it's different.
Like, literally, everyone there is Korean.
One of your buddies just like, it looks the same to me, bro.
But like from transportation to food to like social, just the rules. Like, you're not supposed to eat food and walk.
You can't like what was the thing? You can't like sleep on the subway or something. That's like you can't like take a nap.
You're not supposed to really talk on the subway either.
Oh yeah.
And like
Crazy.
we go out and grab like a breakfast sandwich or something.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to walk around and eat at the same time. Like walking back to the hotel, you can't. You have to sit down, eat, and then leave, or carry your food with you until you get to wherever you're going and then eat. And some of them was weird for me. I'm like, man, this just sounds stupid, but I understand it's it's a custom, it's the culture, so try to respect it as much as you can.
In September I went to Amsterdam, and that was crazy. Like I've been last year I went to Spain, this year I went to Amsterdam. Like Europe is just that to me. I want to go to Asia because I'm sure that's even more different, where I really want to go to Tokyo, like a big city.
So I'm going in May to go.
Nice.
Yeah, but
that's exciting.
But
that's
sick, man, it's like there's so many different things. Like in Korea, casinos are illegal for Koreans, for local. Like if you're a Korean, if you are a South Korean person, you can go as a tourist. You can go as a tourist. So it's almost like they know that it's a finesse. Wow. They know that gambling is an addiction. Gambling is a terrible thing to do.
Jesus.
So they're like, we're not going to let our locals do it, but tourists, come on in. You guys can gamble as much as you want. It's like it's like they care for their citizens.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I like going to the casino, so I'm not saying Canada should make casinos illegal, but it's interesting to see like from my perspective, they really want what's best for their
people. Yeah. They don't want to, and at the cost of, I'm sure, a lot of money, man. They could make like, cause
make
it's a
tons.
huge industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cutting themselves short on a lot of profit. That's cool.
I think they're banned in Japan as well.
Japan, yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You know what is big in Japan though? Baseball, I hear.
Huge.
Yeah, very big.
Yeah.
Fucking
Korea too.
The bats, man. Huge in Asia. Anyways, what was I gonna say? The fucking, what I hear though is like a stereotype is like they smoke a lot. I don't know if that's true. Do they like smoke a lot
Korea?
there? Yeah, in general. I think in like in Tokyo, like Japanese people are known to smoke a lot.
Yeah, I haven't gone to Japan yet, so I don't know.
Korea
From a lot
wasn't
of the animes I've seen.
Yeah.
A lot of the anime I've seen, sorry. Anime sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
From a lot of the anime I've seen, a lot of Japanese people smoking, but I don't know in real life. But Korea, like there was, but I wouldn't say like substantially more than Canada, for example,
Yeah.
or the United States.
Because what I hear is like, because it's such a densely populated country with so much industry going on, there's
Yeah.
like their air is so the quality of air is so bad. They sell like cans of air, like they
Yeah.
sell cans of Coke here or whatever,
Yeah.
pop. Like they sell cans of air that you can like pop open and inhale. You know,
Yeah.
after work, have some air with your buddies.
It's honestly, that's true. So I remember in Korea, like every day we would like just for shits and giggles really check the air quality, and it was
Jesus
always like
Christ.
terrible, and you could almost feel like it didn't look like smog, like
Yeah.
but it just felt like it never felt like you get a real full
Felt
breath
like
of air,
a little too wet in your lungs, you know.
and they had you're speaking about the cans of air, they had like, it's basically like a bus stop but like fully closed, and you go in, and in there is fresh air.
Oh wow!
Like, so you can go in there and like get a nice breath of air and then go back out into the city.
Yeah.
So that was like like it was so weird seeing that, and I guess we're just used to like Canada
Poor
here
air.
having relatively
fresh
clean air.
Yeah. Because like I guess there, like having a cigarette is like helping your lungs. You know what I mean? It's better than the shit that's in the air anyways. No, but a lot of people don't know Canada has like something crazy, like 80% of the world's forest.
Yeah.
Something like that, or like. Yeah, so the air here, we got trees, man. We got that
we got a lot of
CO2 is
trees.
going to O2 real
It's
good.
pumping.
It's good. No, but so it's a different world. And like I said, when I went to Europe, so the reason I went to Europe at this point, it was kind of like I saw my good friend, one of my best friends there, he was doing his master's, but it was almost a business trip because like one of my biggest skits is this like Americans in Europe thing or Americans in Canada. So, but yeah, we were talking like, I'm getting to the point where I feel like I'm shooting myself in the foot doing that because I know that will do well on whatever platform I post, but like I want to do other stuff. And I feel like it's at the detriment, like that's what people want from me. It's kind of like and I'm doing my best to expand, like posting clips, a few of these things, like, you know, are going well. And it's never a bad thing. For example, a very, very recent example is, you know who Matt Rife is?
Yep.
Right? So he had a whole thing where he just blew up, mostly because he's a good-looking guy, does some good crowd work, the women love him, and he was known to talk about how he's like, oh yeah, but like, you know, all the cool comedians, they like Shane Gillis and shit, it's the boys, you know? So opens his special, I'm sure by design with like a misogynistic joke to kind of shift the perspective. And it's like, you know, I see that, and like, good for him. It's not gonna ruin. He's gonna do fine. He'll be just fine. But I see that in a way, like, I'm thankful to have that kind of to lean back on. But I see where what you did with your Toronto guy, you know, expand to Uncle Yusuf, and I'm sure you'll have other characters that you'll build. Like, it's necessary. It's necessary to kill one thing for another one to be born, right?
Yeah, and it's hard to. It's extremely hard not to pigeonhole yourself, to put yourself in a corner.
Yeah.
Because I started the Toronto character, and then back, you know, a couple years ago now, I was trying to do anything other than a Toronto character. Mm-hmm. Immediately the comments, we don't want this, this isn't funny, we want DK, we want Toronto Man.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to really build this Uncle Yusuf character that people liked. And even now I still get comments of, you know, wanting the Toronto Man. But now if I try to post anything other than an Uncle Yusuf video, it's we don't want this, we want Uncle Yusuf. So it's very hard to expand, but like the most important thing is you need to put out the content that you like, regardless of how it does. But it's much easier said than done when you know you can post an American in Europe video and know that the baseline that you're gonna get a certain amount of views. It's hard to know that you can do that, but instead post something that you prefer but isn't gonna perform as well. It's an extremely difficult thing to do, especially when it is your livelihood, when it is the way that you make money. So like for me, it's like it's very hard for me to expand into something I really want to do, because I'm like, well, what if this affects my, my views, my stats, like how much companies are willing to work with me, this and that. It's an uphill battle for sure, but it's important to continue to evolve, because if you don't, then at some point you're just going to get left behind.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a weird battle. It's like what do they say? Don't let your hobbies become your work. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like at the end of the day, we're so lucky to be able to do this. We're fucking around and making money from it. Realistically, like that's what we're doing, really. And it's like, how many people get to say that? And like, you got here for a reason. Like you're creative. You'll come up with other stuff, and you just can't let. You have to cater to your audience to a specific degree, because you can't ignore them, right?
Absolutely.
But you can't let them determine your path, because otherwise you're just like a video game character. You got like, the whole point is to like put your shit out there, right? People like you because you're original. That comes from here, not people telling you what to do. So it's a constant struggle. We're never, realistically, I don't think we're ever gonna figure it out. It's always gonna be that way. It's just like you can do your best. But yeah, you said you work out, right? So you go to the gym every day?
Not every day. Honestly, working out has been like it's been an on and off thing. Right now it's on. Like over the last 2 months ago, I was like, hey, I gotta make a change. I was like just under 230 pounds, and I didn't like feel like super overweight, but I was like, I just don't really like how I'm feeling. I've had like sciatica this year. Like I've developed sciatica, and it's just like,
what is that exactly?
Basically, it's like, it feels like a pinched nerve running down my left leg, but essentially what it is I think there's like a bulging disc in my back, and it's pushing on the nerve on my leg, which is making it kind of tingle, like feel a little weird. So it's been hard to do like leg days.
True. Okay.
But yeah, like honestly, what it's been right now, it hasn't really been a lot of heavy like lifting weight. It's been losing weight. Yeah. So like I said, I was just under 230, and I'm right now right around 200. So I lost quite a bit of weight.
What do you do for that? Like cardio mostly?
Cardio, the biggest thing is like, my girlfriend is an absolute rock star, and she's a phenomenal cook.
Awesome.
And is able to cook like really healthy meals that are still delicious. Because if it wasn't for her, I would just be eating like bland like chicken and broccoli every day.
And then eating out a lot too. I know the struggle. Yeah,
for sure.
I've had the gym on lock for my whole life. I've always been in the gym, working out, doing cardio, playing all these sports. But it's the diet that like makes or breaks how I look and how I feel.
100%.
Like, yeah, once you get past a certain point, like when you start working, if you're starting from zero, that's awesome. I almost wish I can restart from zero, because the progress you make is like, you see it every day, and it's like addicting. But once you get advanced enough, it's like the gym becomes boring. You like work in thing. Like I do a lot of like calisthenics. I try different sports and shit. But it's all in the diet, man. Like you cut like shit like not. I'm also, as a comedian, I'm hanging around drugs and alcohol all the time. For
sure,
right?
And probably shitty food.
Pizza, like you're like 3 a.m. You've done 3 shows. It's a Saturday. Like the
only thing open is
like shawarma, right? So you gotta like. It'd be fun to have a few beers and then have a shawarma, but, you got to have a meal beforehand and then go home and just sleep. It's hard, easier said than done.
For sure. Like that. Yeah, that's what I've been struggling with, is because, like, so my girlfriend and I, we have a food page. It's basically purely for enjoyment. I mean, if it turns into something, it turns into something. But, like, we try out different restaurants every week, or... like we have like a chicken sandwich series or a pizza series, trying to find the best of the city. And me and my buddies, like kind of our go-to thing is just going out to like a pub or something.
Nice.
So like we went out on Saturday to just a pub, and like they're getting like, one of my buddies got like this huge poutine, other guy got like pizza, whatever, and I had to get like, I got soup and salad. With like a nice big piece of grilled chicken.
Yeah.
And that's the toughest thing for me. I get cravings like crazy, but it's like, it feels it felt so rewarding when I got home. Yeah. And I was like, I just had chicken and salad, and I weighed myself the next morning. I'm like, okay, like there's progress.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's consistency too, right? It's like if you're starting out going to the gym or starting on a diet, at the end of the day, whether it's gym or diet, very, very similar kind of pursuits, because you kind of plan out a little regimen or a diet, right? And if it's super, super specific, usually when people are just starting out, they like do their research, they maybe get like a nutritionist or a trainer, and they're so deliberate about it, that it's a detriment to themselves. Because like, sure, you're gonna do that super like, you know, hour and 10-minute workout, exactly this many sets, exactly this many reps, this. You'll do that for 3 weeks, but then after 3 weeks, when you get bored, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
My motto has always been like, just go in there, have fun, and it's consistency over like being super deliberate.
Yeah.
Like, kind of here or there, like if I go in, I know my body well enough, that initial period of being super strict is necessary to learn a lot, right? I'm sure during the past 2 months you've learned a bunch about like macros, how your body reacts to this much protein, this kind of fat, lactose, this, that, what makes you bloated, what makes you feel good, what kind of healthy foods you can get. Even going to the grocery store, man, like a lot of people don't know where to look, right? Like all these little tricks you pick up, like keto bread, saving a calorie here, saving a little bit on fat there, right? That kind of becomes a part of your system. And then once you know all of that, you will go through that first year maximum of like very deliberate effort. It becomes more a part of your day, and then you can just go to the gym. At this point, I'm just like, I don't have a plan until I'm like in the change room. I'm like, okay, last day was like a pull day. Today I'm going to do push. I'm going to do like incline bench, this and that. I'll throw in this because fuck it, right? And that's easier to do 5 or 6 times a week than going in and going, okay, fuck, I have to do this. Man, I really don't want to do that, but right?
Yeah.
And over 10, 20 years, that's going to have more results than doing something 3 weeks at a time on and off, right? So it's all about learning. But yeah, man, that's good. So how long have you been doing it for? 2 months?
Yeah, like I used to like be in great shape before COVID. Like I was going to the gym every day. I was eating super clean, not good food really. Like I said before, not tasty food, I should say. It was just grilled chicken, rice, broccoli. But I was in great shape, and yeah, I mean COVID, I just kind of, gyms were closed.
Yeah.
I was unemployed. Like almost every night I was ordering like Popeyes and pizza and like McDonald's and this and that. And I just kind of slowly gained more and more weight. And then, yeah, like 2 months ago, I mean, honestly, the entire year I've been like, hey, going to the gym and then like taking a little break and then going to the gym and taking a little break. And it's just been a lot because a lot of the travel, it's like I was in Europe for 2 weeks. I didn't really feel like going to the gym then.
Oh, yeah.
But thankfully the last 2 months, aside from like the quick trip to New York, I haven't had any like big trips. So I've been able to like stick with my diet, stick with like going to the gym every day or trying to every day. And like I'm seeing results. And now I'm getting to the point now where like I still want to lose a little bit more weight, but I'm not too focused on it. And it's like now I can really enjoy, like I can still do like 80% of my diet or 85% of my diet is still do what I'm doing. And the other 15 is like me and my girlfriend want to go out for dinner. Sure.
Exactly.
Oh, she wants to get bubble tea after dinner. Why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like that 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort or something like that. But basically, like, you don't have to be perfect all the time. Just what works for you, man. All right, that's sick. Great talking to you. We've done like over an hour already.
Really?
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun, am I right? When you're talking about sports and smoking in Asia. But yeah, if there's anything you want to plug or anything like that, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can follow me on TikTok and Instagram, Jaurji, Jaurji. I think on Instagram it's Jaurji Comedy. I should probably change that. But anyways, yeah, give me a follow. And yeah,
thanks for talking, man. It's been great to get to know you a little bit. And thanks for coming around. Hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely, man.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, do all that good stuff. Rate the podcast. I have a cat. I got to feed him sometimes. You don't want my cat to die. Subscribe to my podcast. All right, love you. Peace.